He's not who he's supposed to be, and his life has changed forever.
2 days before Halloween, 13-year-old Nathan Torres borrowed a family friend's bike to go to the store. Police say he was hit by a car and suffered a major brain injury less than a quarter mile from his home in Hemet, California, just minutes after he rode off. When Nathan didn't return and no one heard from him, his big sister, Angelica, filed a police report. The teen was taken to Moreno Valley Hospital, where he'd lie all alone for 5 days. No one knew where Nathan was because the Riverside Health System had him listed in the ICU as John Doe, mistaking him for a 20-year-old. The police report notes Nathan has a distinctive feature: webbed feet. Still, days passed before any connection was made. How could there have been such a mix-up?
Yeah, okay, so my mom lives at the border of Hemet and San Jacinto, but her house is technically Hemet, and the accident was only 3 blocks from my mom's house. But that's San Jacinto, basically, that's their jurisdiction. So it was a San Jacinto police officer that responded to the call and found my brother, and my mom reported my brother missing to Hemet. So I think that's where things kind of went wrong. But the thing is, on the police report, the officer in charge of the investigation documented each time that he contacted Hemet police, saying if they have missing persons or runaways that match the description. And when my mom called it in, she said that he was riding a red bike, a red gauntlet bike, which the Hemet officer explained to them that it was a red bike involved in an accident 2 streets down, not even a quarter mile. I don't know how they didn't connect the dots. He contacted them, I'd say 4 or 5 times. It's all listed in the police report. And each time they said no. Finally, on, I believe, Wednesday, the day that we were notified, he called them again and said, you know what, just send me the reports so I could look at them. Because obviously he's seen my brother with his own eyes. So they sent over 7 different reports, and sure enough, he noticed my brother right away. They were given the details the next morning. We could have been with my brother that next morning. And they just, in my opinion, Hemet police didn't do their job. The officer that found my brother tried his best. And everyone thinks that we blame the hospital, but we in no way blame them. They did what they were supposed to do, and that's to care for my brother. That's their only job, But even then, his nurses were trying to figure out who he was. And that's going beyond their job, considering he was in an adult ICU for 5 days.
A spokesperson for the Hemet Police Department tells Inside Edition Digital that theirs and the San Jacinto Police Department do share information, sometimes several times daily, depending on the situation. When asked why it took so long for Nathan's family to receive the police report, they said they don't know if they received their missing persons report and that it's unusual for missing persons reports to be released. They cannot comment on the collision report. Hemet police add, quote, "This was an unfortunate set of circumstances which resulted in a short delay of being able to identify the missing juvenile. The situation has been resolved and we wish the juvenile a quick recovery." They said they would not comment on why it took so long to find Nathan. Angelica is grateful to the San Jacinto police officer who did not stop trying to find her baby brother.
If he didn't continue pursuing, trying to figure out who he was, who knows if we would have ever found him, and been able to give consent to the surgery that he needed 8 days later, which was a life-saving measure. If he didn't get his skull removed, he wouldn't be here right now. That was their last life-saving measure that they were able to do. And
so
consider
just in time. In other
words.
Words.
His neurosurgeon said basically when we got there to say goodbye, and that was it. And for us just barely finding him, and it was hard. It was heartbreaking seeing him that way too. And then 3 days later, I was there alone with him at the hospital, and he just started like going downhill out of nowhere. He was doing great, and all of a sudden we were losing him. The pressure in his brain was just getting too bad, and they said that after 3 days, the pressure shouldn't be going up. It should be going down. So they said that was very bad. So they rushed him into surgery, and we were just a mess. And he made it through. He fought. And they said it'd be about 3 months till he got his skull put back. He got it back, I'd say 3 weeks after surgery, which was great. He's looking better now. His swelling, it has stopped, but he does have like numerous parts of damage, including his frontal lobe. So it's not what we wanted, but he's still fighting. Yeah. And he's strong.
Angelica says her family received the police reports 31 days after the accident. Nathan, who turned 14 in the hospital, is facing a long recovery. Angelica, tell me about how your brother is doing now.
Okay, well, right now he's not in a coma anymore. He was partially put into a medically induced coma, and partially it was because of the damage to his brain and the swelling. But right now he's considered to be awake. Like, we can tell when he's awake or asleep. Mm-hmm. But we're not really sure if he can comprehend when we talk to him. His neurosurgeons think that he can, but he doesn't so much respond to commands. Like, if we tell him, can you open and close your eyes? Can you blink? Can you move your legs or your arms? But right mm-hmm. now he could move his legs. Like, he is moving them all over the place. Not his hands or arms yet, but he did have his surgery, I believe, a week ago to put his skull back. And then he had a permanent shunt put into his brain because he could no longer drain the fluid from his brain on his own, like a normal person should. So that he will have for the rest of his life. He has other problems, like he has a feeding tube, he got a tracheotomy. For the most part, he breathes on his own, but he does get really worn out. So he's on the vent at night. And there's a lot of little problems that come with a brain injury, especially considering how extensive his injury was. I know people say we should be grateful because he's alive. And although we are very grateful, I mean, it comes with a price, He's never going to be who he was before the accident. Even with the best rehabilitation center and everything, he'll never be, who we know him to be.
Right.
But soon he will be going to a rehab center in Loma Linda, so we're excited for that. Mm-hmm. It will be a long time before he comes home, though.
How's your family taking it? How's your mom?
She's taking it hard. It's really just my mom. And I have younger siblings. I have a special needs sister that's only 8, and she's her 24-hour caregiver, So now with my brother being this way, she will have to take care of both of them.
Angelica says her family is taking legal action against the driver who hit Nathan.
We've seen the car driving around, and it's just hard. It's right near my mom's house, and it's hard. But as far as that, I guess there's nothing we can do, and we're just going to have to live with that, When we're able to, we need to move my mom from there. I don't live there. I live in Riverside. But mm-hmm. just driving over there and seeing my brother's room and him not there and seeing all his things, it's hard.
In a statement to Inside Edition Digital, the Riverside County Sheriff's Office, which the San Jacinto Police Department falls under, says the driver stayed on the scene and that neither alcohol nor drugs appeared to be a factor, although they are still awaiting the results of a blood test. Angelica started a GoFundMe initially to help out with transportation back and forth, gas, and lodging near the hospital.
My mom will have to fix the house up, when he does come home, which will probably be at least a year from now, to make it accessible for him, because without a doubt, he will be in a wheelchair. I mean, maybe he'll learn to walk again, but for the most part, he will be in a wheelchair for who knows how long. Yeah. And just taking a shower and just getting into the house, it's hard. Yeah. And then having a car that's accessible for him to take him to appointments, because he will for sure have tons of appointments with rehab and, checkups and all that.
What did doctors say his outcome will be? Once he is done with rehab, what can you expect?
They said that they don't know. I mean, the brain's still a mystery, every injury is different. Mm-hmm. They told us to, expect the worst, but hope for the best, pretty much, because there's no telling. They've seen it go both ways. I just like to say that, prayers are what we need most of all. I know my mom appreciates that more than any money anyone could possibly ever give us. Mm-hmm. That's what will help my brother, just to stay strong.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Stephanie Officer.